Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 3, Episode 12. It's a Patreon pick. Thank you very much to Cody for suggesting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And if you want to get on the Patreon, it's $5 a month to support, and you get priority. So your game goes up to the top of the list, and we can play it a lot quicker than if you just suggest it for our master list. And today we have a very special guest on with us. And go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey, Rigney, Yaiser, thank you so much for having me. My name is Bill. I'm the host of a podcast entitled A Gamer Looks at 40. The show is I've been here a couple times. Y'all keep having me back, and I don't know why, but I do appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, man.
You are our dedicated closer so far. You've closed every season, so
I'll take
why
it.
not,
I'm
right?
the Mariano Rivera of the Reliving Retro. I'll take it. That works.
I mean,
just play me in with Enter Sandman. That's all you need.
Hey, Metallica's my favorite band, so I'd definitely do it. All right, so even though this is your third time here, I'll go ahead and ask you some getting to know you questions for anybody who hasn't seen you on here yet.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say your introduction to gaming was? How old you are, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so my first touch with a gaming console was when I was probably 5 or 6 with my uncle's Intellivision. He had an Intellivision, obviously, and with about 20 or so games, I remember playing Dracula very vividly on the Intellivision, and again, a few other like tank games, and I remember enjoying it, not playing it very well, but it was fun popping into cartridges. Fun fact about that system, my best friend now owns it. My uncle almost gave it away in a garage sale for $15, console and all the controllers, and I rescued it.
Wow.
That's
and
awesome.
I gave it to my best friend for Christmas that year. It's like, here's the system, and he still has it, and he works fine and has the games and everything. So, first system I owned though was the NES. I got that I think 87, which I think when everybody was getting their NES. Fun fact about that is I never owned the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combo. My parents, for some reason, there were different varieties or different packages of the NES in that era. And the one I had, I think, was called the Control Deck.
Yep, so it's just the console and the controller, and that's it.
Yeah, console and controllers. I think it came 2 controllers.
Yeah.
And there was no pack-in game. So my mom and dad had to get me baseball, just black box baseball, and Rad Racer. And I played both of those games like crazy. Of course, you're a kid.
Right.
And to this day, I've never beaten Super Mario Brothers, the first one. Every year I jump on stream and try to do it on Twitch. And every year I fall short. Last year I did it and I got to 8-2. And I try to do it legitimately. I try to do it all the way through, straight through, no warps. I try not to use the continues. By that run, I actually ended up doing so. So
I believe 8-2 is the one with the maze.
No, whatever one had the like row of Hammer Brothers in the front. So whatever one that was, I failed. I
Gotcha.
And that was where I stuck. And it was like 12:30 at night or in the morning. And I'm like, y'all, I failed you. I failed you. So
that was the first episode that we did of Reliving Retro. We did Super Mario Bros. We figured started out with Super Mario Bros. Right, kind of where gaming kind of really started to take off, and because we had that discussion, kind of where should we start? Should we start like Atari, like that kind of like should we start that early? But then we went with Super Mario Bros. Because we really felt like that's where gaming took off, and I think that point's kind of been proven with all the guests that we bring on. Almost every single time that we bring somebody on and I ask, where did you start with gaming? It's almost always the NES and Super Mario Bros.
Yeah. And that was the one that was there. So, I mean, that's just, that makes sense for a lot of people. Sure.
For sure. Yeah. I actually, I didn't have the Duck Hunt Super Mario Bros. Combo when I was a kid. I had the one with World Class Track Meet also. I had the 3-pack.
And you had the power pad as well?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I did the whole thing where you run as hard as you can on the pad until you get to Cheetah, the fastest one, and then you get down on the floor and just start hitting it with your hands.
Just smacking it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a real Olympian. Like really,
exactly.
That's what it is.
Of course.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, for certain countries, it's like. All right. So, what would you say some of your favorite types of retro games are to play, and then maybe what are also some of your favorite like modern games?
Oh yeah, awesome question. So I think as far as retro games go, being a dad with two kids, time is a big factor in everything. So anything I can pick up quick, play quick, and leave quick is good for me. So platformers, I enjoy from that retro era. Again, arcadey sports games are fun, like the aforementioned Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball. It's such a great game to just pick up and play. Oh, actually, that was probably we didn't mention that here. So, Ken Griffey Jr. is one I love. Again, 20 minutes. I get a chance to. NHL '94, of course, is an absolute classic, top 5 sports game ever made. So I enjoy that. So anything that's kind of good, quick pick up and play.
Yeah.
Although I do like RPGs, I just don't have the time for them. I started a run of Fantasy Star 4, and I've never played it before. And I really, it's neat. It's no Final Fantasy. I had to kind of get my mind away from that that realm, but I had to kind of jump off temporarily because of show stuff and work stuff and life stuff and everything. So definitely, platformers and anything that's arcadey and quick is what I gravitate towards. As far as modern game goes, I'm a big fan of immersive sims. So things like Deus Ex, I really like BioShock, except BioShock Infinite. That game's terrible.
I was gonna say the first two are good. Yeah.
Yeah, Infinite. We won't get into Infinite. I can't. If you want to hear my doctoral thesis on BioShock Infinite, I was on Games My Mom Found, hosted by the one and only Mike Alberton, and I did we did a BioShock Infinite episode. It's 3 hours of us a lot of me complaining about BioShock Infinite, but nice. I consider that now my dissertation. That's my dissertation. If you want to ask me about BioShock Infinite, listen to that episode. I think it's like 165, maybe. I don't remember offhand, but find that somewhere if you want to know what I think about it. And most of it's not good. So yeah, I love immersive sims. Anything that lets me inhabit a world and discover. And I'm a big Fallout fan. I love Fallout. So that's really in my pocket as well. And yeah, I'm trying to. The next game I plan on playing that's somewhat modern is going to be Disco Elysium, because that has a lot, from what I understand, it has a lot of that immersive sim DNA in it. Lots of character agency and player choice. So that's kind of where I like to live. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I haven't looked into it at all myself. But I'm interested to see. Like, obviously, it's drawing a lot of attention. So definitely looking forward to looking into it. It's funny though. You said that. What was it? Hold on one second. I'm having a brain fart here.
Okay.
I knew I was going to say something, and I can't remember what it was now.
So Deus Ex, yeah, BioShock.
No, retro stuff. What was it?
So
what was it?
NES. I started with baseball and Rad Racer.
Oh, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, you go.
Oh.
Jack, I knew we'd get there. We got there together.
Cut all that part out. You were talking about Ken Griffey Jr., and that's one of my favorite sports games ever for the N64. That one. Is that the one you were talking about, or are you talking about the Super Nintendo one?
Super Nintendo, yeah. The N64 one's good, yeah.
Yeah, Winning Run, is that what it is for the Super Nintendo?
I think Winning Run is the N64 version, yes.
Oh, okay. I like Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. I like that one, but there are a couple. He had a lot of games. He had like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I think it's 4. I think it ended up being 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And we actually, just a few episodes ago, we played NFL Blitz, and I completely forgot how much fun that one was.
Great. So good. That's a great one. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
All right. So before we get to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and if you guys have made it this far into the video, then awesome. Go ahead and give it a like and sub if you're enjoying it, because that stuff certainly helps out the channel, and it's 100% free way to support the channel. So moving along, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I played this game a ton as a kid. I owned, I think, every single Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game that had come out up until like the Wii generation. I was huge into it. Yaiser, had you ever played it?
No, not besides the Game Boy one. I played that a little bit. I don't remember which one, but
so you only played the Game Boy version?
Yeah, it wasn't mine. I forget whose it was, but I did play that.
That had to be rough. I mean, in comparison.
Yeah, kind of. It was only it was just a half pipe, and you just did as many turns as you could in the air.
Oh, so there wasn't any like
900s.
no street levels or anything?
Not the one I played, as far as I remember.
Interesting. Bill, what about you?
I never owned a PlayStation, so the entire PS1 era is a huge, just dark spot in my catalog. I was a Nintendo kid. Yeah. So I was Team Nintendo, so I had an N64 during that era, and I had a PS2. My brother got one just to play Grand Theft Auto. So I never really played this at home. I played at friends' houses. I had a couple of cousins who had it and were great at it, and I would try it and fail miserably and then be done with it. So I had very little experience with it. I know the soundtrack,
yeah,
but other than that, really, I have not a ton of knowledge. So exploring it for this show was really fun, and we'll get into the meat and bones of it. But yeah, as a kid, I really didn't grow up with this game, so this was an experience without the nostalgia lens.
Yeah, which I think is always an awesome view for the show, because especially when I play something that I played when I was a kid, I'm just like, I already know I love this game. Like, I don't have to talk about it like too much. Right. I don't have to I don't have to even like really play, like prep for it as much as like other games. And then when I have like when we have guests on, or even like Yaiser, who's never played this game, I'm so excited to see what they think through like fresh eyes, like fresh yeah, I guess that works. Fresh mind, fresh eyes. I don't know, fresh something. Yeah. But yeah, so essentially, how long did you guys play this game for? You guys are gonna start with you.
Probably an hour and a half ish.
Yeah. And Bill?
I think about 2 hours all told. Again, I wanted to do more, but just didn't have the opportunity. It wasn't because of the game itself, just didn't have the opportunity. So right. But yeah, about 2 hours about in. Yeah.
Yeah, I played about an hour or so just to kind of get familiar with the controls and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess like you could kind of beat it, right? You can like 100% it, like with a with like one character or whatever. Bill, like, do you know roughly how far you got? Like what level you left off at?
I was trying lots of different systems, so I wanted to get as broad of a knowledge about it as possible. So I never got out of the first park.
Oh, okay.
I did not. Yeah, I didn't get out of the first park. Because you had to get like a certain amount of money to unlock it in your career mode, and by the time I figured out that's what you had to do, my time was basically up. And then my thought was, oh, I'll come back to it now and do it, and this never happened. So I didn't get to experience a lot of the environments, of course, in the parks, but I feel like I have enough of a baseline to make some pretty solid judgments. So.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I was just curious. And what about you guys?
I got to the second park, which was like the school, I guess, like a schoolyard. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to score points on that map at all, dude.
Yeah, it's tough if you don't have like an area like a bowl type of area. I feel like it is kind of harder because then you have to string all your tricks together, via like grinds and manuals and whatever. Yeah, I played through and I got to the first. I can't pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure this place is in France. I got to the first like competition level, which were always my favorite as a kid. And I guess we'll kind of just start to get into story here, because there isn't really a story other than just the career mode. But I'll start it off. I gave it a 2, right? Because there's no real like story. I don't want to kill it for not having a story. However, implementing the career mode implementing the competitions into the career mode, I think helps out with that a ton. And just like the different things you have to do in each level, where it's like either collect skate, like the school level has some wild one. It's so annoying to do. It's like you have to wall ride the bells or something like that, and that one's like very, very hard to do.
Couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, you got to press triangle when you're like near the wall, and so you have to like ollie up onto the wall and then like press triangle as if you were gonna like grind the wall or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
But
would have been cool if the game told me that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of like like tips that like pop up or whatever to tell you how to do certain things. You kind of have to just look that stuff up by itself. But yeah, Yaiser, what about you for story?
I didn't know there was competition levels, so I'm going to bump it up. I'm going to go for a 2 as well, because that is pretty cool, I guess. But other than that, there's not really anything other than creating a character. I guess you make your own story and your own character. But
true.
Yeah, I didn't know there was competition, so I'll bump it up to a 2 with you.
All right, that's fair. Bill?
This is gonna be interesting. I give it a 4, and
Okay.
here's my rationale. And the reasoning I had was I tried to take it in context to the era where sports games weren't like they are now, where everything is, be a player, be a pro. You have that, and usually they're pretty cliche storylines, usually pretty bad when they do include those. But the character creation is for the era, as far as I know, and again, I wasn't a PlayStation person, so maybe I'm off base, was pretty robust for the time. I spent I actually created a character, which I in games never do. I am Danny default when it comes to that stuff. I face 1, body 1, legs 1, move on. I just don't engage in those systems. But this time for the show, I figured, let me create a character. And it took me a good 15 minutes, customizing my pants and my shirt. I was rocking Airwalk everything because that's how I rolled in that era. I was Airwalk everything. Giant as the baggiest pants I could find.
Good.
And I enjoy it. Was fun. Even though there's no narrative, the ability to create your own character allows you to self-insert that if you want. And like you said, Rigney, where they have competition modes, the ability to score points, because you always feel like you're competing either against yourself or against other opponents, obviously AI opponents. I feel like it gives a lot of room for you to develop your own. And I think that's tricky to do. And I think it does it I can't penalize it because it was made in the year 2000 and we weren't doing that yet in games. So
right.
That's why I gave it that 4. And if there wasn't a good character creation or things like competition mode, I'd probably give it a 3 because again, this wasn't in the era.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. And I always appreciate a different, me and Yaiser were kind of on the same page with the 2 because it doesn't really have a story, right? But I always appreciate a different view on it like that because it's just, I don't know, it opened up my mind to something a little different. I don't know. Me personally, I don't like changing my score, right? Because that's what I had when I put it in. But I think you kind of convinced me, maybe I should have gave it a little bit higher.
That's all right. I mean, and now here's the question though. So did you all do character creation this time around?
I did not. I did not. I actually never did when I was a kid. I always Yeah, you said you're always Danny default. I'm so Danny default that I just pick Tony Hawk every single time.
Right. Why wouldn't you?
I would never pick anybody else.
So Yaiser, I need to know, what was your character's name? Did you just name it Yaiser, or did you give it a fun name? Because I gave it a fun name.
His name was Morty, and I gave him a plain yellow T-shirt and plain jeans and plain black shoes.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was instantly transported to my growing up in New Jersey, so I named my character BT Fugazi. That's a BT Fugazi because I was totally Fugazi at this game. So, that's what I did at 11:30 at night when I was attempting this for the first time. So
nice.
That's how I rolled. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My next question was actually going to be, but neither one of you guys grew up playing this game, and neither one of you played as one of the standard characters, so you're not going to be able to answer this question. But I was going to ask which character you played as for the most part. I just played as Tony Hawk, and I would kind of, as a kid, I would switch between him, Bob Burnquist, and Bucky Lassick. I just always thought the name Bucky was hilarious when I was a kid, so I kind of, would use him a lot. But yeah, there's 16 playable characters, not including the ones that you can make, and I believe 3 of them are unlockables with Officer Dick, Spider-Man. You can actually unlock. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Yeah, and Private Carrera. So yeah, I guess you can unlock those 3 characters. But yeah, I was always Tony Hawk, just because when I was a kid and I first got this game, I didn't know anybody, so I just assumed Tony Hawk was the best, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna be Tony Hawk. Why would I be anybody else? And I used to all the time create my own skate park. I always thought that was an awesome part of the game because I had played the first one and you couldn't do that in the first one. But the second one, I was blown away that you could make your own skate park. I thought that was such an amazing addition to the game.
Yeah, and I didn't engage in that. Again, not that I don't do level creators either. Again, yeah. I don't know. It's a time thing. I just want to get to the game and get not get through it, but get to the meat of it. So I never engaged. And I was curious if it's good. And I've heard it's good. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always enjoyed it a ton when I was a kid, but again, like kind of, same page as you when it comes to that kind of stuff. Now I'm like, no, just get me to the game.
Right.
Like all that extra stuff is cool, whatever. Like I'm just trying to play this game though, because I don't have time for all that extra stuff.
Get all the time in the world when you're a little kid.
Yeah, for real.
Nothing but time.
Not today, not anymore. But yeah, so I think we're good. We can move over to gameplay now. Yaiser, you want to start off in gameplay?
I will. So this had zero nostalgia for me, like we were saying earlier. I wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't into like skating or X Games like at all, really. Like I knew who Tony Hawk was, obviously.
Yeah,
everybody did. But so this had zero nostalgia for me, and so I went with a 3. It could have definitely been higher and better. I think like an SSX Tricky, it has the mode where you can go in and like learn how to do all your different moves and learn how to play. This is kind of just like throw you in a fucking skate park and say, have fun, buddy. Learn how to play. And like, you do have all your moves list, but again, not coming from being like a skater or a skater fan, I don't know what half of this shit even fucking means.
You don't know what a 50-50 grind is, dude?
I know what that is. I know what that is.
I think I named like the most basic grind.
Yeah, exactly. That's So like, what the fuck's a pop shove it? What the hell was that? You know what I mean? I don't know what half that shit meant. So it was hard to learn for me. It could have been higher if it just taught me how to play, because I did have fun on at least the first map.
Yeah. I think that's pretty fair. Bill?
I gave it a 4.5. Because I think I had such a blast playing it, even though I was terrible. And like you, Yaiser, what I always do with these retro games is I look up the manual. The manual is extraordinarily helpful, Yaiser. That would have helped. I think it helped me. I was like, oh, I got to hold triangle on this thing to grab the rail, and I got to tap this to do on this thing. Okay. I didn't get great at it. I was no better at it now than I was 20 years ago when this was released. I was still pretty bad, but I always felt inclined to keep going. I never got frustrated. Every failure felt earned, or every success felt earned. It felt good when you landed a trick or you got that perfect, sign up there. You're like, oh yeah, I nailed it. So it took some getting used to, and I think the difficulty curve is pretty steep. But I think once you hit a certain point, when it all clicks, it's probably an absolute blast, because now you're just trying to get better on those skills. Probably kind of like skating. I'm not a skater. I don't know. But skating, you probably fall down a lot until you get it, until it clicks, and then you don't fall down anymore. So I can definitely see what they were going with it, and I can definitely see why it's such a classic. So yeah, 4.5 for me. It's a lot of fun, even if you're failing constantly like I was.
Solid.
Yeah, I can for sure confirm that skating is hard. When I got this game, I tried to become a skater. IRL.
Who didn't?
And
right.
It was tough. It was tough.
There also before you go on, Rigney, I did want to just bring up one other thing too about gameplay, which pushes it up to that 4.5 point. This game, even through just the one level that I was in, this game is remarkably good at saying yes to nearly everything. And games are at their best when they say yes to as much as possible. For example, hey, can I smash through that window? I think something might be there. Yes, you can. Thanks, game. Hey, can I jump over this helicopter? Sure, you can. Thanks. Yeah. Can I grind on? Can I grind? Can I grind on the rotors? Absolutely, grind away. And when games do that, it just elevates them so high, because it's so intentional and requires the developer to think like you, the player, and make allowances for as many things as possible. So even just from that first level, I could tell, oh, this is intentionally designed to say yes a lot. And that's what put it up to 4.5 for me, because that's hard to do. That's challenging.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I actually landed on 4.5 as well. My biggest reasoning for the 4.5 grade, though, is button mapping, especially for the PlayStation. I don't think, this may be a little bit of hyperbole, but I I'm drawing a blank as to like what game could do it better. This game like almost like perfectly utilizes the PlayStation controller. Just every single button can be used for something, and I feel like it's all accessible and it's super easy. And then you end up like everything's like, I don't know. I just feel like you remember it all. And again, that's coming from me who like I played it a lot when I was a kid. So, not as easy to say for somebody like Yaiser or somebody like Bill who didn't get the chance to play it when they were kids. So there's nothing there for them to remember. But picking this game up, I knew immediately, okay, grind is triangle, flip moves are square, and then the grab moves are circle, X is to ollie, and then, you know what I mean? Then you have manuals up and down on the D-pad, and then, rotating is the top buttons. So I don't know. The button mapping aspect of the game, I feel like, is like flawless. So controls are fantastic. The fact that you can do so much in it, like Bill is saying, like the game constantly tells you yes. And then I love the competition levels. Those ones are my absolute favorites. There's 3 of them in the game, and they're not that far like apart. So it's like you'll do like 2 normal levels and then it's like a competition level. And it always kept me working harder like through those normal levels, even if I hated the level. Like there's a one level, New York City. I absolutely hate that level, but I'll keep working through it because I want to get to the competition level. And those are so much fun. So I feel like the game does a really good job of just that balance of frustrating, yet, you feel rewarded when you get to the part that you like. There's also a ton of unlockables. We talked about it already. There's a few character unlockables, and it really rewards you for like sometimes in games it's like you 100% something and you don't even really get anything. But in this game, if you 100% something with a character, then you get Spider-Man. If you 100% something with all characters, then you get a whole new level called Skate Heaven, and it literally takes place in outer space, and it's amazing.
Cool.
Like
That's
there was
awesome.
a reason. Yeah, there was a reason to keep playing after you like, and I love that about games. If they just give you reasons to keep playing. So gameplay I put at a 4.5. I did dock it a little bit because I felt like I did agree with Yaiser. I do think that there should be some sort of like tutorial mode, and maybe there is, and I just missed it or whatever. But I could never remember one. So I do think that it's just kind of throw you in there and hey, learn how to play the game. And there's like 1,000 moves, and if you don't know, there's like 1,000 tricks, and if you don't know skating, you're not going to know what any of them are anyway.
It's very intimidating. Like when you look, because you look at that list, and there's 80 moves, and I'm not going to learn all 80 of these things. So I agree with Yasser on that. They really do throw you in and say skate.
Yeah. And the thing is like all of them react a little bit differently. The pop shove it takes a little bit longer to land than the kick flip or the heel flip. And then if you're on like the half pipe, right, and you start to do some grab moves, like you're doing like an indie, like that's a pretty quick grab, right? So you can do an indie and then maybe do like a 540 or a 720 while doing an indie. But if you do like a Benihana, which takes way longer to reset, so like it takes you a little while to learn about these moves and which ones you have enough time for and which ones you don't have enough time for. But that's again a little bit part of the charm too, because there's a lot to learn about the game. So yeah, I landed on 4.5. I really, really enjoy this game. All the Tony Hawks I feel like are very good, except for the ones for the Wii. Those ones suck, but whatever. From this generation, they're all really, really good. Let's move it into visual. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about for gameplay?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to visuals then. And Bill, if you want to start with visuals, go ahead.
I gave this, and I think I might get not flamed, but I think this might be a little low. I give it a 4 for visuals.
Okay.
It's really hard for the PlayStation PS1. And again, I played the PS1 version. I didn't play the N64. I think there was an Xbox version too. I didn't play that. With the PS1, those games are just on the ugly side. They just are innately. So I tried to put it in context with other games of that era. And are they on par graphically with those games? Absolutely, for sure. Like visually, yeah, they're on par. I gave it an extra point to make it 4 because of the variety of things that are there in the world, which is really more gameplay probably. but everything does feel like a dynamic skate park or a dynamic environment. All the location of different elements are thoughtfully placed. So even though it's not gonna lie, it's kind of an ugly PlayStation game. Again, those games for the most part are. It's on par, even a little bit above that mark. It really struck me when I was creating my character. I'm like, is that really a red shirt? I guess I'm gonna assume, and not try and look at it through with modern eyes, right? Because then obviously nothing's gonna hold up to today's graphical or visual standards,
right?
And it also has to do too with the art design, and it is very clever. It's very of its time. It feels 2000 skater, and that also lifted it up to 4 for me because it felt like a skating game from a look and feel style, and even just the energy and the attitude that they were presenting with those visuals. So I gave it a 4, and I think some people may want to do like a 4.5 perhaps, because they know it a little better, know that the library of the PlayStation a little better. But that's kind of where I landed.
Well, this is interesting. I'll go next. When you said you thought people might be a little disappointed, I thought you were going to land maybe like 2.5, 3.
Oh wow.
I landed on 3.5.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't think this game looks terrible by any means. It does have like that ugly PlayStation look. Again, so this game came out for PlayStation, N64, Dreamcast, and Game Boy Color. I played the PlayStation version. I think probably the Dreamcast version looks the best.
Makes sense.
That would be my guess. And then I would say that the PlayStation version probably looks the next best, and then the N64, then Game Boy Color obviously probably looks terrible. But yeah, so I landed on a 3.5. I think the environments are all pretty good. I just think it's kind of an ugly PlayStation game. I was going to ask you guys what your favorite levels were.
The first one.
Yeah, Bill and Yaiser both really like the hangar. It's actually up there for me. It's one of my favorites. Fun. Yeah, it's a really good one because it has like the half pipe. It has a little bit of the street skating. It has like, you break through the glass to get to the other side of it. It has a couple secret areas, which I think is awesome too. So yeah, that's a really good one. I think my favorite one, the level I always think of when I think of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is actually Venice. And it's a street skate one also, but it also has a ton of bowls and half pipes and stuff like that. It's kind of got everything. So I always think of that level for some reason when I think of this game. So I'm going to say that one's my favorite. But yeah, I landed on 3.5 for the visuals. It's fine for what it is. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. I certainly would never expect like a 5 here. Some PlayStation 1 games that we've played so far, I tried to compare them to that. Just looking through the list here, Suikoden 2. I mean, this isn't even close to as good as Suikoden 2, in my opinion, as far as visuals go. And then if you talk about like Silent Hill, I think this is probably a little bit better than Silent Hill.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Resident Evil Nemesis, about the same. I don't see really that big of a difference. So I was just trying to compare it to games that we've already played for the show, and I kind of landed on a 3.5. Yaiser?
Yeah, I landed in the exact same spot, 3.5.
Cool.
Because like you guys are saying, it's just this generation of games are just so fucking ugly, man. And it does look all right for that era, I guess, but like it's nothing special. All these games are fucking ugly, and but the level design, at least on level 1, is pretty cool. Level 2 is just like open benches and railings.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's where the game lost me, was level 2.
Yeah, the school level is pretty interesting. Actually, it's it's one of like the more like infamous levels from the entire series. A lot of people tend to like the school level. But yeah, I mean, I could get why that would lose you. You know what I mean? Like the hangar's a pretty small, confined area, and then you have the school, which is one of the biggest areas in the entire game.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and you're gonna spend probably like 10 tries at least just finding the things that you have to collect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like per mission or per task or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
If you're looking for the 5 bells that you have to, wall grind on, those things they're pretty well hidden for what it's worth. So you have to go through and try and find those.
I saw a few of them, just didn't know fucking how to hit them.
Yeah, right. But yes, let's move on to, I guess, a pretty notable area of the game. And Bill, we can start with you if you'd like. Sound.
Ah, yes, the sound. This is a 5. This is top shelf, just chef kiss. The game sound itself, it sounds like skating. Cool. It's serviceable and workmanlike. But I would say that the soundtrack to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 combined, I think I like one soundtrack a little better, is a top 5 soundtrack in games. It makes you feel like you're Tony Hawk. It's that wonderful mix of street punk, and there's the first one, there's ska, and you have again like street punk of the day, pop punk. There's some hip hop themes in there. It's wonderful, and every song is perfect for the gameplay. I had the sound on the whole time, as I usually do with these games, and when No Cigar from Melancholy came up, I'm like, I am 20 again. Like it just hit me with these nostalgia hit. I just boom. But not only just nostalgia, it was really well suited to the game. I'm hitting this half pipe and I land a 720 something miraculously, and it feels so good in this skate park with this music. I do think the soundtrack to 1 is a little better than 2 by a smidge, because there's more ska in there, and that's kind of where I land on things.
Yeah.
But because Goldfinger's Superman is almost a perfect song probably. But it's fantastic. I mean, there's nothing better than grinding on a rail while Worlds Collide comes on from Power Man 5000. Like
right.
I don't know. It really uses its soundtrack to just elevate the entire experience. It's a 5. I think it's fantastic.
That's
fair. I don't know why I couldn't get to 5 exactly, but I did land on I got to 4.5. I think the biggest thing for me, one of my biggest memories with this game in general, was I was in 6th grade. I was in Mr. Terry's history class, and we were looking at I was looking at a magazine. I can't remember what the magazine was, but in the magazine there was actually there was an ad for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And I remember holding it up and pointing to it like across the classroom to my friend who had played the first one with me. And I was like, Papa Roach is in this. I don't know if you understand how excited I am, but Papa Roach is actually going to be in this game. That's amazing. And
gosh.
Blood Brothers continues to be one of my favorite songs from Papa Roach. I don't know if you guys are Papa Roach fans, but I was a ton when I was a kid, and Infest was one of my favorite albums ever.
Is that the one with and Put My Life Into Pieces, or Last Resort?
Last Resort,
that record? Yeah, we had that one. I think everyone had Last Resort or whatever that record was.
Infest.
Infest.
No, from Yaiser, huh?
Not me, dog.
Wow.
Not a Papa Roach guy?
I knew the song. Obviously, everybody knows that song. But
we had Seven Dust and Cold Chamber and Papa Roach and a few Linkin Park. I mean, all that.
Linkin Park's I love Linkin Park, but
I had
we
the
talk
Linkin
about
Park
another day.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say the intro to this is so nostalgic. I let that play entirely through.
So did I.
Just the little, I feel like it's called something in like skate lingo, but I'm not going to try and remember what that is. But they had like the skate like highlights or whatever of every single character that's in the game, minus Spider-Man, because I'm not going to show him, right? All set to Guerrilla Radio by Rage Against the Machine. And I'm just like, man, what a way to get like the game started. What a perfect way to just get you in the mood to just skate. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really get better than that. But this soundtrack is actually like really, really good as far as this, I don't know. This might be one of the first soundtracks I can remember playing as a kid where I'm like, oh, that's like legitimately like real songs that I hear on the radio all the time. Like, I was a little blown away when I first started playing Guitar Hero, and then because I never noticed really how many songs I knew that were going to be like that were in that game until after I stopped playing Guitar Hero, and I went to like or then I just like listened to the radio and I'm like, oh, this song's in Guitar Hero, that song's in Guitar Hero. But I think that this game was probably the first game that I noticed that with just how many songs in it were on the radio. So yeah, I landed on 4.5. I think it's probably one of the best soundtracks on the PlayStation 1 for sure.
Yeah.
Yaiser?
That's cool, guys. That's really cool. No, I'm like right there. I gave it a 4. Most of these songs aren't really, the kind of music I was listening to.
Not your cup of tea. What kind of music did you listen to in the year 2000, buddy?
I was listening to Eminem in 2000.
That's fair. I was also
mostly that.
Just Eminem. That whole year, huh?
Practically, dude. I remember when did Eminem's show come out? 2000. That was actually 2002. Dude, I listened to that.
2. Yeah, 2000 was
a year long in my.
Well, 2000 was the Marshall Mathers thing, which is a masterpiece.
Is that the Stan?
That's one with Stan on it. Yeah, which is a all-time great song.
It's Chronic 2001. I was listening to that fucking all year long too. But yeah, so yeah, I landed on a 4. I love Rage. Rage is dope, and that's a good song.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I really know any of those other songs.
Yeah, I mean,
Rock the Bells, maybe.
I think that's fair. I understand like that point of view on it. I will say, however, I'm not huge into like this type of music. I do like probably like the more notable bands, like I said, Rage Against the Machine, Power Man 5000, Papa Roach, Public Enemy, Anthrax, Bad Religion, a couple of the bands that I knew right off the right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like what Bill was saying is I feel like this not only was the music good, but it's like perfectly suited for the game you're playing. So that's why I bumped it. You know what I mean? That's why I feel like it deserves like that good of a score.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at 4. It's pretty fucking good.
No, it's 4's good.
Yeah. 4's a good score.
I'll just chime in with a little memory, because that's what I do on my show is memories. I remember going to my cousin's house and they had Tony Hawk 1, the first one.
Yeah.
And they were showing us the game. And when Goldfinger Superman came on, I had that moment, Rigney, where I said, oh man, this is a song I know very, very well in a video game. And you're flying through the air, flipping and flapping like skateboarder people do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those formative moments where a real song came into my video game world where that doesn't happen. So no, I had that exact kind of feeling with the first one. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. I remember that being in that history class like it was yesterday. Like I remember seeing the ad in the paper or in the magazine or whatever, and just seeing all the bands that were listed on the side of the cover art that it showed, and I was just like, it's so funny to me, like to think that like you take out a full page in this magazine, and the main thing that you were advertising was what bands are going to be in this game. It was nothing about the game itself. It was what songs and what bands are in the game, and so it's just like,
Did it look like a festival flyer?
I know, right?
Kind
of, actually. Kind of.
Cool. Yeah. Who did you show it to across the classroom?
Haas.
Okay.
Yep.
That would have been my guess.
Yeah. I was like, dude, Papa Roach is going to be in this game. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. Blood Brothers, dude. I love that song. Anyway, so we can move on then from sound, but I do think that, it's pretty amazing. All right, moving over to aged. Yaiser, why don't you start this one off?
All right, you guys can flame me later if you want. I'm gonna give it a 3.5, basically because it was so hard for me just to learn how to play, and if the game, and I'm comparing it to SSX Tricky, that was a whole generation later, I guess, but just to look like fucking 10-minute tutorial, dude. I didn't even know you could hit circle to do grabs. I didn't even know that until you just were saying that.
Oh, really?
Yep, didn't even know.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It played smoothly, I guess, but it's just that one thing. Like, teach me how to fucking play, and I'll like playing a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Even Dark Souls teaches you the buttons in the beginning.
Well, they know how hard it is. They know you're going to spend the next 4 hours dying.
And they don't provide a manual either. Like, they don't, again. Yeah, there was a manual, and again, that helps. And there's also a move list, but it's pretty esoteric. It's hard to kind of really, because again, there's 800 moves, so it's very overwhelming. So,
and you can also unlock moves and like and like set new moves as like your specials and stuff like that too.
You need a lot of money to do that.
You do, yeah, you do. One of my favorites, actually, I know we're kind of getting off topic again, but one of my favorites was called the coffin grind, and I always made it like up, down, triangle, and just because I felt like it made a lot of sense, up and then down, and then you lay down like you're in a coffin. So it was so easy for me to remember that. But anyway, I'm gonna jump in. I gave it a 4. I think it aged really well. I do agree with Yaiser's take though that if being a part of like age, right? If you don't have the manual, then it's going to take you a bit to kind of figure out the controls, really get into the, kind of get into the, what do you call it? I don't know. I'm losing a lot of words today.
In the rhythm of it.
There you go. Bill's got all the words for me today. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate
I have no idea why. I got no sleep last night, so I'm amazed that I'm even functioning as a person.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing over here, but you're picking it up, so that's great. Yeah, so essentially, it takes you a while to get into the rhythm of things. If you don't have the manual, or if you don't have any prior experience with the game, I could definitely see that being an issue. However, if you do have prior experience, this game ages very, very well because you can just pick it up. You remember it's literally like riding a bike. You're just like, oh yeah, I know it, all the moves, because they don't change from Tony Hawk 1 to Tony Hawk 4. It's the same thing, same exact controls. So that's one thing that I would give it points for there, like, because that would be annoying to me. I think if certain Tony Hawks were different for whatever reason, they just change up the button mapping. That would be stupid. But yeah, I landed at a 4. I think it's really solid. Bill?
I also put it at a 4 for a lot of the reasons you stated. It's at the end of the day, it plays great. It's a lot of fun. It's engaging. There's a good progression. The character stuff's good. Yeah, all the stuff there is great. But at the end of the day, it's still an ugly PlayStation 1 game. and visuals aren't everything, obviously, right?
Right.
But in this situation, it's hard to go back to. And when I talk about games aging, this is not Mario 3. It looks beautiful now and it was beautiful then. It's not Final Fantasy 6, which is beautiful now and beautiful then. PlayStation 1 games have aged, unfortunately. Yeah. It's like, it's like someone who smoked their entire lives. Well, unfortunately, that age is just there, and I can't ignore that. And also some of the lack of accessibility as well, like you just said, Rigney and Yaiser. If you don't have the manual, you're doomed. Like you are going to just fall down constantly. And your barrier of entry is going to be much less than if it did have some tutorials or a little thing that popped up. Even though that wasn't of the time, like just didn't happen in games. They expected you to read the manual and figure it out. Unfortunately, those bits of the experience have not aged, and it doesn't add to the experience now. It's just a detriment. But I don't want anyone to think that's a condemning thing on this game. I still think this game is a must play. If you haven't, I'm super glad I have, and I'll probably play it later if I have time, or play it next week. I'm definitely going to pick this game up again. So the lack of it hasn't aged well still doesn't mean it's still not good. It's just there is some wear and tear on this car. So
yeah,
I'm where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't even know if I would say that it hasn't really aged well. It's really just visually and, just kind of picking it up and just being able to play it right away. It's kind of hard to do with the amount of moves and tricks and stuff like that you can do. Yeah. You can't just like learn them immediately as soon as you pick up the game. So, it takes a little bit. But, I think we're all pretty fair with that. Total scores here, we have Yaiser coming in the lowest at a 3.2. I came in at the middle at 3.7, and Bill came in at the highest 4.3.
Nice.
All right, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and our average is a 3.7. So I think that's pretty solid for a game that doesn't really have like a storyline. It's not like a AAA storyline type of game, right? And it doesn't need to be. It's not that type of game. And it does age a little poorly with the visuals and stuff like that. So all things considered, I think our scores are pretty good for it, Yeah. And going around the table here, I'll start off. I definitely think that somebody should pick this game up if they haven't played it before. 100%. I think that you would enjoy it. I think you'll have a good time. Maybe download the manual, look through that, figure out what the buttons do.
Wish I did that.
I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think 100%. It's not an expensive game by any means. I think if you do have a PlayStation, you want to go pick it up at like a retro game store or something like that, it's probably going to cost you like $15 complete with manual, case, and everything. So, I don't think that's not too much of a price to pay. I don't think to go pick up this game.
Cool.
Yaiser?
I think if this is like your type of game, then definitely. You can even get the remaster. It'll be way less ugly than this one. This one is.
True story. I have the remaster actually. I played it on PC, got it on Steam, and it's cool. It's really, really good.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Pick that up.
And Bill, you already said, right?
I think it's I've highly recommended. I think it's a lot of fun. I didn't even realize there was a remaster. So if the control feels the same, because there's something about the control that's really satisfying, and landing a trick is really satisfying. If it keeps that, then play the remaster. But if not, emulators are free. That's how I played it. So
right, yeah,
give it a shot and read the manual. You will have a much better time if you do. So,
for sure.
Definitely recommend it for sure.
All right, so this is the time of the show where we randomize our next game, and we also ask our guest Bill if you would go ahead and recommend a game for us to put on our master list. So as soon as we announce next week's game, we'll get that recommendation from you, I should say.
All
right, let's hit this thing. All right, here we go. So, episode 1 of season 4. Our first episode of every season is always an RPG. So, we got that going for us here. This game was developed by Alpha Dream and Vanpool, published by Nintendo, and came out for the Game Boy Advance, and then later released for the Nintendo DS and the Wii U. And it was released November 17th, 2003. RPG. Any guesses?
So what was it originally on? It was
Game Boy Advance.
A GBA game. Alpha Dream.
Developed by Alpha Dream and published by Nintendo.
Well, it's not it wouldn't be because I don't think it wasn't a Pokemon game.
Not a Pokemon game,
right? Because Alpha Dream, I don't, because I know next to nothing about Pokemon clearly, or else I would have said that silly thing. But I don't know. I have no idea.
It is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever played this game?
I should guess that. I've played. I played the Mario RPG thing. It was for the 3DS. It was the Luigi's something where there's 1,000 Luigi's, Luigi's Nightmare or something like that.
Oh,
it was super fun. Yeah, it was super fun. I enjoyed it. And then I always meant to go back and play the other ones, but I never got around to it.
This is the start of the handheld Mario RPGs. Obviously, like the first one was Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo, and then kind of Paper Mario, and now there's a Paper Mario series, I suppose. And then there's the Mario and Luigi RPGs on the handheld, and I believe this is the first one. So I'm pretty excited to get into this game. I've never played them before. The only Mario RPG I've ever played was the one for the Super Nintendo. And that's pretty fun. I assume that this has the same, just from like some of the pictures and videos that I looked up so far on it, I think it has the same battle mechanic as Super Mario RPG, where it's like the time-based battle mechanic where you can jump on somebody's head and get the extra damage and stuff like that. You can also dodge and stuff. So, I'm looking forward to playing this one. Actually, we're going to be joined by YouTuber Scott Squatch on this episode, so I'm pretty excited to talk to him. He's actually he's a guitar tech for the band Korn. So yeah, he tours with them, and it'd be pretty interesting to talk video games with him, and maybe a little bit about his experience with Korn, because that's got to be pretty fun touring.
That is cool. Sure. Yeah,
touring with a super popular rock band, right?
Yeah,
gotta have some stories.
Yeah, right. So Bill, do you have a recommendation for us to add to our master list?
Okay, I do. This is going to be a slightly weird one. I was trying to think of like classic game or a 16-bit. For some reason, a word came to my brain. It's a PlayStation 2 game, and I want to make sure I get it right. Hang on, let me make sure. So stall a second.
We are currently stalling for
Stalling
Bill.
right now. So tell us your greatest dreams and aspirations.
I don't have any. That's unfortunate.
None.
Oh, dude.
No dreams.
It is. I get the name right. So I'm gonna put The Getaway for the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
Oh, dude, I remember that game.
On the list. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say. Now, one of my buddies, when the PS2 had just come out or whatever, he had this game, and I played it a little bit because I thought it was going to be like a lot like Grand Theft Auto, and I think I was a little disappointed after maybe 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay. But I honestly couldn't even tell you what the gameplay was, so I just remember that being a kid. That's the only experience I have with it.
I remember driving a lot. Well, The Getaway, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You drive a lot, but you drive a lot very slowly. Like you don't drive like Grand Theft Auto. You drive through the streets of London. They recreated the streets of London exactly. Like it's London of that era. So, which is pretty cool, but there's no, pointer arrow, there's no map to show you where to go. The only way you know where to turn is by when you get close to a turn, your turn signal blinks on. Left or right tells you you're now going to go left. But if you're flying down a street, you're never going to get that turn signal to flip. So you have to basically drive like you drive. And it's very, very, and the gunplay isn't great, but it's got a neat story. And I think it's one of the first reactions to GTA. My brother owned it. And we still to this day quote lines from The Getaway.
That's funny.
Yeah, we still quote lines. It's a pretty neat. It's kind of a game that's kind of a little bit near and dear to my heart. I personally never finished it. My brother did. Yeah, so it's The Getaway. That's what you all have now on your list.
That's cool. So just a quick question, because as you were kind of describing it, it reminded me a little bit of another game that we've already played for the PS2. Have you ever played Stuntman?
No, I haven't.
That's a pretty fun one. This, you don't have to drive slow or whatever like that, but like it is strictly like it's a driving game and made by the same people that made Driver for the PS1. And it's a lot of fun. You play a stuntman, and you have maybe, what is it, Yaiser, like 5 or so stunts you have to do per movie that you do.
Something like that.
So you're doing movies, and you have to nail like these certain stunts. And it's a lot of fun. It's very, very frustrating at times. However, it's so satisfying when you like you get the perfect timing on the stunts.
Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so we will add we will add The Getaway to our master list. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I just I only vaguely remember playing that game, but I definitely remember it for sure.
Yeah, I just remember being a little disappointed it wasn't Grand Theft Auto. That's the only thing I remember. So it would be fun to go back to it with fresh eyes. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Yaiser, you feel like crap today, so I feel bad about that. And
that's okay, man.
Bill, thank you, of course, for closing out the season.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Always a treat.
Of course, you'll be back on for season 4, I hope. We'll be in touch. And everybody, make sure to check out Bill, A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, if you want to go ahead and plug your stuff one last time, buddy.
Yeah. Like Rigney said, A Gamer Looks at 40. Twitter is my main source of everything. But when Twitter was threatening to fall apart at the hands of Elon Musk, I went ahead and made a Discord. So, but evidently that has not happened yet. The show itself is a series of recollections and stories from the perspective of people who played retro games back in the day and how they affected their lives, or the games they love and why they love it. And it's just every episode is a collection of short stories from different people. And there are some special, there's some other side content in there. I know Rigney's a fan of the Tales from the Bargain Bin, which is my brother and I talk about games we got from well-meaning family members that were usually not great. So it's a neat show. So if you have a lot of nostalgia for the retro era, I highly recommend checking it out. I think it's pretty neat, and I am biased, but that's just me. And right now we're in the midst of our Zelda retrospective. This is going to take us well through February. But by the time February is over, there's some pretty cool episodes I have in the hopper that I think everyone will enjoy. So a gamer looks at 40 on Twitter. Say hey.
Cool.
Will do. Yeah, definitely go check him out. His podcast is fantastic. I love the whole interviewing process is so cool. And then for example, the Final Fantasy VI episode, I know I brought that up last time, but I just feel like that one was so well. I mean, they're all well done, but that one just sticks out as one of my favorites for sure. And as somebody who didn't play Final Fantasy VI, who hasn't played it yet, it just made me want to dive into that game even more. And the fact that you used music from the game as sort of like an interlude from like topic to topic, it just sounds so clean, so professional. I envy that type of podcast, honestly. Like, it's very, very good, very professional.
No. Yeah, and if you dug that, then I do recommend. A few weeks ago I released an episode, I think it's 57, which is myself and the crew from the Gamers Week podcast got together and we did a live read of the Nintendo Power Legend of Zelda comic book series.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So because I guess it was 92 or 3, I forget which, 93, Nintendo and Nintendo Power released 12 issues essentially of this comic that was basically the story of Link to the Past in Nintendo Power. So every issue had a 12 to 20 page comic in the book. And we live read it, 3 chapters worth on the air, no plot, no preparation, no casting ahead of time. Everything's cast on site. It was a lot of fun, and there's lots of production there. Everything has wind whipping and cavern sounds and echoes, and it took a while. But if you dig the production piece of it, then I definitely recommend checking that out because it's a really fun time. Those guys are great to work with. So it was neat.
Cool.
Actually, for anybody out there that likes The Office, there's a podcast that Brian Baumgartner does where it's like an oral history of The Office, and the production level is equal to that one. And I'm amazed by that because it's a full crew that works on that one, obviously, right? It's not Brian, it's not Kevin from The Office doing this, you know what I mean, on his free time. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm super impressed, obviously, by the amount of production value that goes into your show.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Rigney.
Of course. But yeah, so that's it for this week, for this season. Thank you guys so much for watching, and check us out. Well, next week will be our recap episode on season 3. Me and Yaiser will sit down just by ourselves, and we will rank every single game we've played throughout season 3. And I'm trying to think, should I try to guess your list again? Because I did it pretty well last time. I think I'm not gonna do it. I think I'm not. Maybe I'll try to guess it, and I'll just leave it on a piece of paper, and I won't say it during the show.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if I can guess that again, because that's kind of fun. Anyway, yeah, so check us out next week for that, and then in 2 weeks we will be playing Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. So see you guys later. Thank you very much for watching.
Peace.
Bye.